cat. Everybody laughing.
That seemed to have taken a while. Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. This evening with me I have Donna Velardi, who is our pet psychic. Donna, thank you for joining me tonight.
My pleasure.
We're sitting here in the studio and it's monsooning because I can hear it on the roof. So we're kind of hope that the weather doesn't play against us and make the power go out or something real fun like that, you know. It's one thing if it happens to you at home and you're familiar with the territory.
Right.
But I have the feeling if that happens here and it goes dark, we're just going to sit on the couch and wait it out because it's dark. It's dark and it's unfamiliar and I'm not tripping over cameras. But anyway, before we get started with what I think is going to be a very interesting conversation, I just want to mention that there is a dog, Bengal, at the City of Hartford Animal Shelter who was originally supposed to have until noon today. But because things got a little crazy for Sherry and that works to Bengal's advantage, they've extended her until Monday morning. They really didn't come up with anybody to take her. She will die on Monday morning if someone doesn't get her out. So check out City of Hartford Animal Shelter's Facebook page. Check out the Posse Presents Facebook page. She's up there. Get in touch with somebody if you can help her out. She's a young, sweet dog. She was left behind when somebody moved. They found her tied to a porch in an abandoned apartment. I mean, come on. You know, talk about the epitome of a throwaway mama, and that's just what she is. Clearly been bred. Somebody take her. She's only like a year old. Also, there's Waldo. People, Waldo. I showed him to you last week. I've been talking about him since my birthday, which was the middle of July. Really? He has until Tuesday. Tuesday he dies. It's going to be too late for Waldo. So the New Haven Animal Shelter, he's just waiting for you. Check out the Posse Presents Facebook page. He's on there. He's the cutest thing.
Oh.
He really is. They dressed him up like in the striped Waldo shirt and took him to a library event.
Oh, wow.
It's so funny. And like they took a picture of him with Waldo, you know, where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo?
He's the coolest dog, and I don't understand. He's been there for like 7 months now.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, so really, come on, go scoop Waldo up. I also want to talk real quick about Waterbury. It was a cliffhanger this week. They needed to get 10 dogs out. And this was for space.
Wow.
We ended up getting more out. You know,
Excellent.
There's a few more than the
Very
10.
good.
It went way down to the wire. But that never means that you can breathe in Waterbury because they can take 6 in a day. And, you know, if they've got 10 open kennels,
There's always
where does that
more.
leave you? You know, in 2 days you can be done if it's real heavy.
Right.
So this being the slowest time of year, people, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that everybody bailed Waterbury out this time. It would have been, it's now, I'm going to cry, over a year officially since they killed for space.
Well,
And we couldn't do that without everybody's support. And see how I get? I'm just, last year, I said this I think last week. Last year there were 2 weeks consecutively where 10 dogs were killed for space. And
That's a shame.
that was devastating. If you look at their Facebook page, they've gone from like 400 and something friends to 2,300.
oh, that's wonderful.
So you want to think
Absolutely
about
wonderful.
the support that's behind it and the machine and the force that's in motion. People, I thank you. It's just amazing. Let's keep it going because you see how I get about good stuff? You imagine how I can get about bad stuff. It's like, forget it. Anyway, you and I met a few months ago, Donna.
Yes.
You were doing readings at an event at the Cheshire Cat and Dog 2. And I brought Mojo
Yes.
because he was the new guy on the block. You know, my other 3, I had them pretty young, you know, so there's no questions when you had them most of their lives.
Right.
You get an animal in kind of a year or so old, and, you know, you might want to wonder about that one. And this is something that you do.
Yes.
So Mojo was a fairly clean slate, and I thought he would be, except for a couple little issues, which really didn't come through because, you know, it is what it is. But you really tipped me by surprise because I didn't say this is one of my pack. I just said, this is Mojo, and let you take it from there.
And Mojo told me the rest.
Okay. You said to me, you have an old soul at home. And you really, that kind of like, I was like, wow, where'd that come from? Because Duke, my big brown one, is truly my old soul. I mean, you connect, I think, with every dog, no matter how much you love them, differently.
Absolutely.
And Duke is Duke. You know what I mean? I can't say it any other way. I don't know if it's because I've had him since he was 8 weeks old. I don't know if it's just who he is, but Duke is Duke.
Right. Animals, like people, we connect up with them differently. We don't feel the same way about every single individual. Same thing with our pets. The pets that come into our lives, we love them all, but we love them differently. And some are our soulmates. Some we just love just very differently. Some just touch our hearts in very, very different ways. And we accept that, and they know that, and they know how to communicate with us. And basically what animal communication is, it's hooking up with their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings, just like the way you would with a person. It's really no different. It's using your intuitive self to figure out what it is that they're trying to tell us and to figure out where they've been. One of the big questions I get all the time is when people call me in for a reading is, tell me about my pet's past. Either they've adopted them and they want to know where they came from, what their past was, who they were with, what their situation is, and how they can help this pet to really kind of acclimate into their new surroundings. So that's one of the things that I do. The other thing is, if there's behavioral issues, sometimes animals, just because they're doing something bad, they're not doing it bad just for the sake of being bad. They're doing it to get your attention, just the way a child does.
Yeah, negative attention is still attention.
Absolutely. And they're trying to tell you something. And sometimes they've tried to tell you in a not negative way, in a positive way, that we just didn't catch on to. So they're going to do something bad to really grab our attention. And it's up to us to kind of figure out what it is that they're telling us. And basically, animal communication is seeing life from the animal's perspective, but with a human interpretation. That's why sometimes we get a little conflicting results.
Now, you are a psychic and a communicator. What is the difference between those two terms? Or is there a difference?
Okay, there's a little bit of a difference. Communicator is, I'm telling you, what the pet is thinking, what they want to let you know is happening. When I'm doing psychic readings, it's to say, what's going on in the past or what's going to happen in the future or something that they're feeling. It's done the same way. It's done telepathically. It's done through visualization, and it is using your intuitive skills, which we all have. It's whether or not we choose to develop them or not.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even like to think about having a talent or a knack for things.
Right.
And other people embrace it.
Yes.
And it can be a scary thing.
Well, it depends on our upbringing, too. I've been doing this since I was a child. My father always spoke with our pets. He always communicated with our pets. And I always knew that it was an okay thing to do. My pets were always my best friends. And, so many times, children especially have, we're all born with the gift. Children do it naturally. It's a natural talent. It's a natural ability that everyone does have, especially as a child. Same thing with communicating with spirits. Spirits always appear to, children and animals, for that matter.
I see dead people.
Absolutely.
I'm
and
sorry,
they do.
I can't help myself.
And you see them and you feel them, and the animals especially, because spirits will go to whomever can see and feel them. That's why they pick animals and children. But as a child, children talk to their pets, and they'll go and say, "Mommy, the dog told me this," or the cat said this, and what parents do, they teach their children to turn it off. They say, "Oh, you have an overactive imagination.
Yeah.
Oh, stop, exaggerating."
Like Johnny's imaginary friend.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
Exactly. So I was fortunate. I didn't turn it off. I expanded it, and I developed it, and now it's second nature to me, and I love it. And
how do you read these guys?
it's, like I said, it's done through visualization, it's done through, telepathic communication. It's also done through imagery. What people don't realize is all words have energy. And when we speak, we're actually visualizing what we're saying. So the animals are hooking up with our thoughts. We don't realize that they are, but they are. When we say, go to the bathroom outside, we're visualizing them going outside. The worst thing that anyone can do is say, don't go to the bathroom in the house, because the thought you're sending, the message you're sending is going to the bathroom inside.
I'm sorry, guilty. I have this problem with Gidget. She's horrible. I always say, like, I'll take her outside and 20 minutes of, like, she's like Mrs. Kravitz, a breeze, a car, somebody walking by.
Maybe a little ADD?
Yeah, it's incredible. And, I've always said, I will guarantee you that, like, once all 4 tires hit the street, she's peeing on the floor. And she, like, totally proved that to me the other day, because I was driving down the street, remembered I forgot something,
and
went back, and sure enough, there it was. And I was like, well, she just proved that one. But yeah, to say, like, I'm like, sure, now don't go on the floor because you didn't go outside. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Animals don't understand that big red slash. So you can't say, don't do this or don't do that. They don't get that. Animals, which is the most beautiful thing about them, one of the most beautiful things about them, is that they see life in the positive. So you have to tell them what you want. You have to visualize the positive. And the worst word that anyone could ever use is the word no. They're barking. No. They're jumping up on you. No. They're going to the bathroom in the house. No. What on earth does that word mean? No. They're like, wow, she uses that all the time. They may think their name is no.
Yeah.
Because we use it so often. So you have to be explicit to them. If they're barking, you say quiet. If they're going to the bathroom inside, go to the bathroom outside. If they're jumping on you, down. You say what you want, because those are the thoughts you're sending them. Those are the visualizations that you're sending them. And that's critical to them. That's how they learn. That's how they see things.
Well, I always preach to people who say they have a problem with a dog, and they're like, what are you doing that for? Come here. Too many words.
Way too many
words. And I had a friend, and I'm gonna not name her. She had, like, this thing with one of her dogs, and I was like, you know what? All that speech, it's not getting through.
No.
A simple word.
Exactly.
No or don't or whatever. So, and although I'm guilty of sometimes, the speechiness, basically you got to keep it short.
You got to keep it short and simple.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that we need to remember, is we need to keep it simple with our pets. They're not as complicated as we like to make them out to be. Like I said, they see life in the positive. You keep it simple, you keep it respectful, you keep it sincere. Those are the rules we live by with our pets. Those are the rules we should.
Pets know when you're phony too.
Absolutely.
I think they know more than people do when you're not being sincere about your emotions and your feelings with them. If you're
absolutely, they can. Their intuition power is far greater than ours.
I can attest to that.
They can see through people far better. Their judge of character is far better than ours could ever be. If you have a pet that loves everyone, and then there's that one person that they don't like, trust that pet's instinct.
Yeah.
Absolutely trust that pet's instinct.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you just, if you've got a dog that usually doesn't like people, flip that around, and they do like somebody,
then
there's something to that
absolutely.
too. That's got to be like an outstanding, shining person.
Right, that's a person you want to include their positive energy in your life.
Oh, absolutely. So now you have the capability to tune in with a lost pet, one that's passed over, and as well as the living.
Absolutely. And I could do the living with either the pet here or through a photo. And the reason why you can do a lost pet, a pet that's passed on, or through a photo is because it's done telepathically. Again, it's all energy work. You're communicating with the energy of the pet. So the pet's spirit lives on after they've passed on. What I do with lost pets, that's a big call I get all the time. And those are tough ones because they're not always successful. A lot of them are, but not all the time. The first thing I have to do is determine whether or not the pet is lost or missing. And people say, what's the difference? There's a big difference. When they're missing, they know where they are and they know how to get home.
Right.
When they're lost, they don't know how to get home. And that's the big difference. And when they're missing, they'll come home on their own time and their own terms. And the one thing that people have to remember is that animals don't have the same sense of, the same concept of time that we do. We see things in hours and days. They view life more through sunsets.
We had that conversation when I had Mojo in for the reading. Because he's got a little separation anxiety. And you said, don't say I'll be home soon. You said, don't say I'll be home in a couple of hours. You told me to use before sunset or after sunset.
Right. And if you're going away for a couple days, I'll be home in 2 sunsets. That's how animals, conceptualize time.
Oh, it's like telling a kid 2 more wake-ups and it'll be time for your birthday party or something like that.
Exactly.
And it's like having kids.
It really truly is. But they're wonderful, and it's the unconditional love. It's the nurturing that they give us. And one of the things I also want to touch upon, when you talk about pets that are at shelters, they understand when they're adopted. When I do readings and there's a pet that's been adopted, especially one that's been abused, and they go to their forever home, that's a good life, they are so appreciative. It is amazing. And, anyone could open up their wallet and buy a pet.
Yep.
It takes that special person to open up their heart to go get a pet at a shelter. It truly is.
You hear this? I'm saying this all the time.
It really is, and they do appreciate it. I've seen
So
it
they
time
know,
and
they
time.
know you've
Oh
saved
my
them.
gosh, yes, absolutely, they know. And then, like I said, a lot of calls I get is, I want to know about my past. Sometimes an animal, again, they see life in the present. They don't like to go back, especially if it's an unhappy time.
Oh,
They
sure.
live, now and forward.
You kind of block it out.
Yes, they want to, because a lot of times it's very, very unpleasant situation. It's a horrible situation in some of them. Some of the abuse is just unbelievable. I remember one particular case, there was this cat that was left for dead, tortured and left for dead on the streets in Hartford. There was a shelter that had rescued it. And I remember when I saw this cat in the shelter, this cat was void of emotion. It looked like its soul was missing. It was the saddest case that I had ever seen as far as being a communicator goes. And I remember the woman saying, well, she's just going to live out her life, here at the shelter. There was this woman who came in who decided to adopt this cat. Now, I see this woman, I do massage therapy on her cats on a regular basis, and so I got to see this cat. And she adopted this cat, and she allowed her to acclimate herself on her own terms. No
That's
pressure.
important, yeah.
There were other cats in the house. She didn't have an issue with cats. She had an issue with humans. And she just let this cat be. And 2 years later, you have to see this cat. She's wonderful. She's running around. She's playing. She can't wait for her massages. She talks. She won't go back to that awful time because I've asked her, and she won't go there. She will not go there. Her life began when she went to live in her forever home. That's how she
course.
feels.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of animals feel.
People do it, so why
Yes.
wouldn't the animals, really?
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes animals don't get closure from their past. Either they're I don't like to call them owners. I like to call people caregivers. Their caregiver maybe passed away, or went into a nursing home and a family member put them in a shelter. They feel bad about that. They blame themselves and they don't have the closure. And sometimes if they exhibit an issue in their forever home, it's because they don't have that closure.
Right.
And once they get that, they're fine. So those are the things we need to remember with them.
Yeah, you really do. You have to have a certain amount of empathy and sensitivity for what that animal went through.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, you also do dream interpretations.
Yes.
And a lot of people either dream about a departed pet or they don't.
Right.
And so tell us, if you're dreaming of your pet, what's happening there?
Okay, if you're dreaming of your pet, they may have a very specific message to give you. They may want you to do something, go somewhere, give you an indication of what's happening in your own life, taking care of yourself. Maybe you're not taking care of yourself and they want you to take care of yourself. You have to see what your emotional state is in that dream with this pet. They just may be saying hello to you in a more tangible way, which is why they're coming to you in a dream. But most pets, when they do give you a sign from beyond, it may not be that blatant. It may be a little more subtle than that. But if you don't dream about your pet, that's actually a good indication as well, because that means that they're fine. Your relationship with them was wonderful, but they're fine, and they're on the other side. They're at the bridge, and they're enjoying it. They're at peace. They're back in their in their youth and their prime, without the sickness, without the illness. They're happy, and you may have another life with them. Maybe not in this lifetime, but you could have a future life with them. And I find that many people have had past lives with their pets that they've had.
That's interesting. That really is.
Yes.
So, how did you come to realize that you could read these animals and
I never.
I know you said your father did too.
Yeah,
It's
it's second nature. I've never known where I can't do it. It's like, like you and I talking to, a cat or a dog. And by the way, you can communicate with any species. It's not just cats, dogs, horses. I've communicated with reptiles. I've communicated, with, they're all different kinds. Rodents.
Well, sure, if it's got a heartbeat and
absolutely,
a being and
absolutely.
just.
Now, some have more to say than others.
I'm sure. And I'm sure, there's some that are just blocked. And like you said,
Yes.
that one cat kind of wouldn't go back.
Right.
But I'm sure that some you can read and some you can't.
Right. Just like humans. Some animals are more talkative. Some people are more talkative. Some people are less talkative. One species that goats love to chat. They love to chat.
I kind of can imagine that. They seem like little busybodies.
Yes, they are. So, but they're just fabulous, and just to hear what they have to say, and again, their perception of life, their perception of what's going on around them, how they look at things. They look at it from very differently than how we do it. They're also very in tune to our emotions. I can't tell you how many times I've done a reading on a pet, and I actually go into the person because I'm like, oh, you're not feeling well. You may have, how's your blood pressure? And they're like, why are you doing a reading on me? And I'm like, well, your pet is concerned about you. Your pet has, realizes that there's some medical issues going on with you. They want you to take care of yourself so you can be around to enjoy each other.
Yeah,
Animals are
I
very in
absolutely
tune.
find that my guys know when things aren't right, and when they get clingy, and they turn it around on me sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
And they just act a little different, and you're like, guys,
Right, because you may be trying to fool them, because you even mentioned, before, you may be trying to fool them and saying everything's fine, and it's not.
I tell them that through thunderstorms, and it doesn't work. Because I'm afraid too.
Right, and they sense that, and they just want to be protective of you. And plus, with thunderstorms, don't forget, it's not just the noise, it's the air pressure. They're so sensitive. They're
Everything
sensitive to the barometric pressure, which is why, during earthquakes, During earthquakes, I actually get calls from people in California because the animals feel it days before and they go missing.
yeah.
They go to a safer place. So, that happens quite often. And then, when everything is all said and done, they go back home.
Yeah, I mean, they're really on like a whole different plane than we are.
Their
And-
sensitivity, it's pure. There's nothing to block it. They're not, put off by peer pressure or, reading the newspaper or anything like that.
Now I'm looking at the time and we're kind of like getting ready to wrap up because we've just like, I can do
Yes.
this for another half hour. You also teach classes.
Yes.
And real quick, what are some of the classes that you teach? And then we'll give your contact information so that people can get in touch with you.
I do Discovering the Chakras. I teach, developing your intuition. I do teach the animal communication classes. I teach animal massage therapy, gemstone healings. There's a whole variety of classes that I teach.
Okay, and it's Zodia Pet.
Yes.
And what is your contact information for anybody who wants to find out more?
You can call me at 203-387-9738 or email me at petastrologer@yahoo.com.
Okay, one more time for both of those.
Phone number is 203-387-9738 and email is petastrologer@yahoo.com.
Now, for anybody who didn't get that, it's on the Pound Posse Presents Facebook page, and you're not on Facebook, right?
Yes, I am on Facebook.
Are you on
Yes.
Facebook? Okay, that's wonderful. So what's your page on Facebook?
Zodia Pet.
Okay, all right, great. So see, I think the last time we talked, maybe you weren't.
Right, and the
So
website
here's
is under
me. And
construction,
yeah, you
yes.
said your website is under construction.
Yes.
Folks, believe me, I talk to my people before they come on, so I try to find this out, but I just, I
Yes.
didn't realize that you had made it onto Facebook. We've got credits, so we're going to get ready to say goodnight. Donna, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're going to close the show the way I always do it. Do it with me. Peace,
Peace.
love, little heart,
Little heart.
and dogs. It's my silly little way to do it. So,
Awesome.
good night, everybody. Peace, love, and dogs. We can do that again. Thank you again, and everybody enjoy the rest of the weekend. Good night.
I'm Greg Allman.